Welcome back to session 9. This is the second video on terms and methods of payment. I am going to explain what a bill of exchange is. A bill of exchange, or simply draft, is a form of draft and is often referred to as draft. So, a bill of exchange is a draft, and a draft is a bill of exchange. If we want to define this, you can say it is an unconditional order in writing addressed by a person to another, signed by the person giving it, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay upon demand or at some fixed or determinable future time a certain sum of money to or to the order of a specified person or bearer. Very long. What do you expect to see on a bill of exchange, or what we call a draft? There are 4 things. A draft or bill of exchange must have a date. 2, it must have a specified sum and must agree with invoice. 3, it must have name and signature of drawer, who is also the payee. It must have the name of the drawee, who is the payer. Types of bill of exchange. The first one we refer to is called a promissory note. Promissory note. This is a less used form of bill of exchange drawn up by the buyer, and it constitutes a promise on the buyer's part to pay the seller. The second type is documents against payment, or D/P. It is also known as sight draft, or it may be cash against documents. The bank in the buyer's country demands that the buyer pays the sum stated on the draft before releasing the documents. In a case where an airway bill is being used in document against payment transaction, a nominated bank must be entered as consignee so that it can control the release of the goods. This type guarantees that goods accepted are paid for, since the buyer can only get the possession of the goods on paying bill. I'll take that again. In a case where an airway bill is used in a document against payment transaction, a nominated bank must be entered as the consignee of the goods so that the bank can control the release of goods. This type guarantees that accepted goods are paid for, since the buyer can only get possession of the goods on paying the bill. The only risk here for the exporter is that the buyer may not collect the documents, or the buyer may delay in collecting the documents. If the buyer insists on waiting until the goods have arrived and on checking them before payment, then it's no more documents against payment, but it becomes cash on delivery, COD. I repeat, if the buyer insists on waiting until goods have arrived and on checking them before payment is made, then the method of payment is no more document against payment, but rather cash on delivery. Note the difference. Documents against acceptance, D/A. Here, the exporter agrees to a period of credit, traditionally measured in periods of 30 days, 60 days, 90, 120, or 180 days. The period is measured from the date of shipment. Note that, as evidenced by the transport document, or from the date of the bill, or from the date of the order of goods, which must be clearly stated. So whichever is resorted to must be clearly stated. The period is measured from the date of shipment as evidenced by the transport document, or it may be from the date of the bill or from the date of the order of goods. There are three issues here, and whichever is chosen must be stated clearly. Now, the next bill of exchange is called termed bill. Termed bill. A bill of exchange with a stated credit term is what we call a termed bill, or it could also be called termed draft or usance bill. There are three names here: a termed bill, or you can call it a termed draft or usance bill. Any of them is accepted. Now, here on the termed bill, the bank in the importing country releases the documents to the buyer in return for the buyer's acceptance of the bill by signing and endorsing with a stamp. When the tenure or credit period named on the bill has expired, it is deemed to have matured and therefore presented for payment. The risk connected with document against acceptance is naturally higher for the seller than the document against collection, because the seller will not be able to regain possession of the goods in the case where the matured bill is not honored by the buyer. The last bill of exchange I would want to explain here is avalized bill of exchange. Avalized bill of exchange. It is important for a seller to arrange for further security by asking buyer's bank to endorse or guarantee the accepted bill, with the bank stamping the document. When the bank stamps the bill, it means the bank guarantees that bill. In this case, the seller has not only the buyer's promise to pay, but also it means the bank has guaranteed to pay. An avalized bill of exchange can be discounted or used as a security to raise credit because it has been guaranteed by a bank, so it's guaranteed for payment. That is why an avalized bill of exchange can be discounted or used as a security to raise credit.